Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is the sole member of Skeleton Creek. Please welcome Rob Davis. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Allie. How are you?
I am awesome. How are you?
Not bad.
Not bad. You're the second person that I've interviewed that has never been interviewed before. I think that is absolutely, I'm honored, but people need to listen to your music because I can't believe I'm the only one that's interviewed you. Anyways, so you are in Yukon, Oklahoma, right?
That is correct.
Okay. I have no idea where that is. I'm from Canada, but I know kind of where Oklahoma is, but I've never heard of Yukon. And it's funny because in Canada, we have the Yukon territories. Or now maybe, yeah. So yeah, when I first read that, I was like, what? There's a Yukon in the States? Anyway. Now, like I said, you're the sole member of Skeleton Creek. It's a music band that you started in 2015. And your story is so similar to a lot of other stories. And I just want to, once you start talking about it, I want to tell you about the big, huge stars that had to end up doing the same thing that you did. So you were basically a songwriter. And
correct.
In order to get your music heard and, accepted, because you get told no 10 million times, you actually started singing. So, did you start early in your life singing and writing, or is this just something that's evolved recently?
Well, I started playing the guitar when I was 14 years old. And I wrote my first song when I was 16, and actually it's on my second album, Small Town USA. It's called Blue. But I added a verse later on. But the concept of the song actually was there when I was 16, and I've been writing songs ever since. By the early 90s, I probably had 25, 26 songs written, and I had them sitting in a drawer. I wrote them on a 4-track Tascam and had them sitting in a drawer for years and years and years, until you could eventually do what you can do today and get something recorded fairly cheap and get it put on iTunes and distribute it that way. And it wasn't possible to do back then. So I had a lot of songs written. Every song that I had, probably by the time I started in 2015, I probably had 35 songs written.
Wow.
And I put out my demo, which was The Deal, which actually wasn't supposed to be a demo. It was a demo. It wasn't supposed to be an album. And all I was really trying to do was make a recording that I could try to fish out to other people to buy. And it didn't work out well because no one would let me send them my music. It's called unsolicited material. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I came up with the name Skeleton Creek, which actually I saw driving across the creek, and I liked the name of the sign. It said Skeleton Creek. I'm like, that's a cool name. That'd be a neat name for a band, and that's how Skeleton Creek was pretty much born.
It is a great name for a band. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So then what I did was I got on CD Baby, and after I made my recording, and they distributed it worldwide, all across the world, from iTunes to Deezer to Google Play to Amazon Prime to everywhere. And I have all these songs written. And the first demo, The Deal did pretty well. I made enough money to make Small Town USA, which in turn made enough money to do Masquerade, which just came out in October. Mm-hmm. And I have my fourth album already finished, already recorded, all ready to go, and it's going to come out in September of next year. It's called Pretty Girls, but I've already recorded it because I built a studio in my bedroom.
Yes, and your studio is called Painted Pony Publishing Company?
Yeah, Painted Pony Publishing Company, that is correct.
Okay.
And that's where all my music comes from now. That would be my advice to somebody is to come up with your own publishing company to try to keep all the rights for your own music and not, distribute them through another publishing company. We had a big scam going on actually in Yukon where a publishing company was taking a bunch of people's money and not fulfilling their obligations.
I've heard that so many times. It's just sad. It's absolutely like I don't understand how people work sometimes. Now, you were nominated for Male Vocalist of the Year at Indie Artists Magazine.
That is correct.
That is
That was
cool.
a shocker.
Now, I want to get back to the fact that you just wanted to be a writer and sell your
Yeah.
songs, and that didn't happen because nobody would take your songs. So then you decided to start singing them and producing them and getting them out there. And uh, oh God, now I can't even think. Good Lord, Rob Thomas of why
That's
can't I?
funny.
Thank you, Matchbox 20. The same thing. He didn't think he could sing. He just wanted to get his songs out there, and nobody was taking them or listening to them or buying them. So he ended up singing them. Blake Shelton did the same thing. When he went to
Really?
Nashville, he wanted to be a songwriter. He didn't want to be a singer, and he didn't think he can sing. And the funny thing is, both of them still think that. They think that they cannot sing, and it's like, hello, how many Grammys and, how many things have you won that you need to be told that you can sing? So it's one of my little music trivia things that sticks in my head. And when I read your story, I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you that you're not the only one that's had to do that. And it's sad because you have to do that. But in a way, it's really good because then we benefit from it because we get to listen to you.
Sure. The reason I came up with Skeleton Creek is because my name is Rob Davis, and there's about a bajillion Rob Davises across the globe. And I thought no one would remember Rob Davis, so that's when I came up with Skeleton Creek. I thought, who's going to forget that?
Yeah.
So that's the way I came up with that name, and it's been doing pretty well for me. Although everyone thinks I'm a band, four or five members, and actually I'm doing everything on every one of my songs, on every one of my albums. I'm playing all the instruments, I'm doing all the vocals, I'm doing all the backup vocals, except on She and I, which is on Small Town USA. A friend of mine's wife is doing the backup vocals on that.
Oh, nice. Well, go ahead.
I'm definitely a musician. I like to play the guitar. I learned how to play the piano. I can play the harmonica. I can play the bass. But it's just interesting the way it all came together because I don't perform anywhere. I don't know if you know that. I'm not a performer. I don't play gigs.
Mm-hmm.
All I do is write songs, record songs, and distribute them. Where that I can sell them at. I've been asked to play a lot of places, but I don't have a band. So
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard to do.
Book a gig when it's just you.
Yeah, and those one-man bands that they have out there are just crazy with all the instruments attached to them. I couldn't imagine trying to do that. Yeah, and it's too bad because I think you would be wonderful to watch. But, I mean, it is the way it is. And you're making it work, doing what you're doing. And I think it's fantastic. And it's funny because a lot of independent artists don't go out and perform. And I'm finding, too, a lot of independent artists either do their own music like you do, or they'll do a part, then they send it off to Europe, they do a part, then it goes to Canada, they do a part, like it goes all across the world until it's finally a song. And it just blows my mind. Like, thank goodness for technology and social media today, because I was in radio for 18 years, nobody would play independent music. And I think it's starting to shift a little bit, and more people are like signing independent artists. They're buying more independent music because they want to hear something different.
Older music I have a lot more appreciation for because of the technology that's out there today and what you can do with a song with one person. Back in the day in the 70s when they were recording, it was the entire band recording all at one single time, instead of doing track after track after track, which is kind of what I do. It's just it's amazing to get it down in one track. Back in the 70s or 60s, it's amazing how good those musicians were.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm bad for listening. I listen to the 70s constantly. Like, my grandkids tease me like crazy. But one of the things that I appreciate so much from the 70s is, number one, the lyrics, because they're written. You know what I mean? They're not produced. It's from the artist usually, or a friend of the artist or something. or it's writers that they actually sit in the same room with and come up with
Yeah.
ideas. But another thing I like about music back then is the music, because they'll sing and then they have a break of 2 minutes where it's just the instruments. And I think that's beautiful. And you do that in a couple of your songs. And I love that you do that, because it's great to hear, wonderful lyrics and a wonderful voice. But every now and then it's nice to hear all the work that goes behind it. And that's all the instruments. And it blows my mind that you do all of them. Like, I don't understand. I just don't understand how you can do every instrument and all the vocals and everything. Like, you blow my mind, Rob. Like, seriously.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, we talked about your album coming out in 2018 called Pretty Girls. And, like, you've had, okay, so you had The Deal, and then you
Yep.
had Small Town USA.
Yep.
And you also have had Masquerade.
Yep.
And now coming up is going to be Pretty Girls, which is awesome.
Correct.
Um,
I have a single in there too called "Sing a Song for Me" that I put out right after Small Town USA. It's on iTunes and everywhere else. It's just a single. The reason I did it was because it should have been on Small Town USA because it sounds like the music on there, but I had written it after I distributed it, so I just decided to make it a single.
Oh, well, anything coming from you is going to be good. Now, because you've been doing this for a while, and because you've been told no 10 million times as a songwriter, and then had to do it yourself, if you had any kind of advice to give somebody that's just starting out, Rob, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, it's not been easy. I'll tell you that. I mean, get on Twitter early and get your own. What you need to do is, and what I did is come up with your own publishing company. Go that route instead of trying to find a publisher. I think if I could have done anything differently, I think I would look for an agent, someone who believes in you, doesn't want to charge you a whole lot of money, but will willing to help you, or an agent or a manager. Because I found that the only way I think you're really going to ever make it in the music industry, and it was true 30 years ago and it's still true today, is you need to get your music on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you're going. I mean, to me, it's the only way. Like, I'm on a lot of radio stations, but I'm on all internet radio stations. I would like to give a shout out to DJ Gummy Bear, by the way, from Party Central Radio.
Yes, hello, DJ Gummy Bear. I love him.
He's been amazing. So I'm on Party Central Radio. I'm on Big Time Radio. I've been on Lonely Oak Radio and Indie Castle Radio and things along those lines. But to get onto a radio station that's being played on FM, the big syndicate, iHeart, things like that, I think that's the only way you're going to actually really make it huge in the music industry. It's such a small percent that make it huge. And there's so many people on Twitter trying to do the same thing that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have a problem selling my music to someone else to sing my music at this point. I haven't had a tremendous amount of people hear my music, believe it or not. Even with 30,000 followers on Twitter, you go to my SoundCloud, I've got like a couple songs that 6,000 people have, played.
Yeah.
That's not a whole lot considering the 350 million people across the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's not an easy industry to be in. I don't try to take it too seriously. I just have a good time with it. I want to write songs. I want to record songs. I want to distribute songs. That's why I don't really play anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically doing what I want to do. If something happens with my music down the road, if it gets put in a movie or someone wants to pick it up, they can contact my publishing company, which is actually me, and I make arrangements for them to do so, which I don't have a problem doing. My deal is I just want to have fun, and that would be my advice to anyone who's getting involved in this industry.
Just have fun. That's a great.
Yeah,
that's
have a
great.
good time.
Yeah, I mean, well, and it's your passion, so you should be having fun doing it. And yeah, and don't get discouraged. I think, right? Like you have to keep at it.
Exactly. And one other thing, if you don't mind, the industry today is so different than it was. I didn't want to be 80 years old with a 50, 60 songs sitting in a drawer somewhere, saying, I sure wish I would have done something with this. And that's one reason why I made the steps that I made to get my music out and get it distributed. I got a 5-year-old daughter, and when I'm done and gone, who knows where my music will be? It lives forever, and my daughter will have all the copyrights to it, and who knows what will happen in her lifetime with it as well. So another thing I would say is, no matter how old you are, live your passion and do what you want to do.
Wow, that's great advice. That is such great advice. And leaving that legacy with your daughter is amazing. Now, what 2 songs are we going to hear from you, Rob?
I believe you're going to hear Burn, which is my first release off of my new album, Masquerade, and End of Time, which I just released on the 1st of December, just this last Friday, off of the same album, Masquerade.
Yes, and they're both excellent songs. Now, you can buy your music anywhere online, CD Baby, iTunes, Reverb, everywhere. Plus, you also have a website, skeletoncreek.net. That's going to be up on my website. It's going to link directly to your website, so people just have to click it, and it'll take you over there, and you can find out even more stuff about Rob and listen to more of his music, because all of his music is amazing. I love it all. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming on my show. I totally appreciate it. And I wish you the best, and I'm always here. So any new singles, any new albums, any news, just, hit me up on Twitter, and you can come back on anytime.
You got it. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. And see, it wasn't hard at all. You didn't have to be nervous for any reason. All right. Well, thank you once again, Rob, and you have a great day. I wish you the best of success.
Thanks, Allie. You too.
And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic. Keep checking my website, because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in my attic. Cheers.